Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the school board meeting of the Center Grove Community School Corporation. We are honored to have each and every one of you here. We thank you so much for your concern and your passion for our students and the things that happen in their life. We are a school corporation who we develop knowledgeable, confident, and responsible citizens through inspirational and innovative learning opportunities. That is our mission, and we go by that each and every day that we are together. So at this time, I would like to have you stand for the pledge, and we are being led this evening by well, first of all, we'll let Principal Trey O'Kelly introduce the student who's going to give us the pledge.
First of all, thank you very much for allowing me to be here and recognizing one of our outstanding students at Pleasant Grove Elementary School. I'm going to bring up Kellen Thompson. Kellen, if you want to stand right up here. Kellen is escorted by his parents, Rob and Chrissy Thompson, and his brother, Kyler. Kellen is a fifth grade student at Pleasant Grove. As I had said, he's in Mrs. Luck's fifth grade classroom. Why I've recognized Kellen is because I am a huge believer in character and pursuing academic excellence. Kellen is a top of the line student. I could give you I sit back and think of one of my observations in Mrs. Luck's classroom where the class was playing an academic game where they were really stretching their knowledge. And what I found is he's one of those students that every kid wanted to be on his team. I remember Grady even making the comment like, I don't get to be on Kellen's team right now. And it's because, you know what, he always pushes himself to learn more, to be the best in everything he does. He's not only an outstanding student, he's also an incredible athlete. I'm sure you'll see him on the basketball court, the baseball field, on the football field. He is just an amazing all-around person. And I sit back and I think, the best compliment I could give his parents, and I love making the phone call, as I said, and I want you to know this, Kellen, as I ask my own kids each and every day, is I ask them to be good people. Go out into this community and be a good person. And you know what? Your parents, they've raised a good person. So thank you for being here this evening. I'm going to join Kellen, and I'm going to ask you to stand, and please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kellen, if you will just wait for a moment, Mr.
You've got it.
I've got it right here. Sorry about that. There's a certificate for you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. As we begin our work this evening, I would ask for adoption of our agenda.
Madam President, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Scott, and I call him Mr. Scott tonight. And all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed likewise? Motion carried. All right, now then we will move to the Shining Star, Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mrs. Toomey. Billy. I thought I saw Billy. There she is. You can come stand over here.
Okay,
How are you this evening?
just fine.
Excellent. So the Shining Star Award recognizes an employee, student, or community member who has gone beyond the expectation to make Center Grove a better place. To be eligible for the Shining Star Award, the nominee must have exhibited actions that go beyond his or her normal job duties on a daily basis. The nominee must demonstrate that he or she went above and beyond in one of our 4 areas, or he or she must have made a difference in the life of someone else. We'll get to that in a minute. Fostered a more productive workplace or school community, encouraged teamwork and collaboration within the Center Grove Community School Corporation, or initiated a positive image. And tonight, we're going to talk about the first bullet point, where Billy made the difference in the life of someone else. I'm nominating Billy tonight for the Shining Star Award. Billy is a cafeteria monitor at Center Grove Elementary. On Friday, May 3rd, Billy noticed a child choking in the cafeteria during lunch. She immediately jumped into action to perform the Heimlich maneuver. Her attention and quick action helped save a child's life. Center Grove doesn't have a hero award to give out, but if we did, Billy would certainly be deserving of it. Tonight, we want to recognize Billy with the Board of School Trustees Shining Star Award for her heroic action. Thank you for your service in Center Grove community and watching over our students during lunch. Just a couple of, I guess, editorial things. When I heard about this, and Dr. Arkanoff and I were having a conversation about this, I was immediately excited about it. I understand the training and what goes into performing the Heimlich maneuver through my 19 years in the fire service. So not only being able to do it while you have a child in your arms to do that, to have the presence of mind to understand what was going on and perform that maneuver is quite heroic. So tonight's a great night to present this award with a couple other things we've got on the board agenda for tonight. And Billy, thank you for watching out after our students.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. You want the picture?
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. The Indiana Mr. Basketball Honor recognizes the top high school basketball player in the state of Indiana. The award is presented annually by the Indianapolis Star. The first Indiana Mr. Basketball was George Crow of Franklin High School in 1939. Mr. Basketball Award is the oldest such award in the nation. I would like at this time to ask Mr. Trace Jackson to please come forward.
Somebody get a picture.
Trace, could you ask her to stand up a little bit?
Yeah, Trace, stand up. Straighten up, Trace.
Before I begin this award presentation, I have to tell you that Trace and I have been friends throughout the years that he's been at Center Grove. And he loves, when he sees me, is to stick his arm out like this, and then he wants me to walk under.
A limbo contest.
That's a limbo.
Trace, we are presenting to you the Certificate of Excellence this evening, and we recognize you and congratulate you on your honor as Indiana Mr. Basketball of 2019. Thank you above all for your representation of the Center Grove Community School Corporation. Best wishes as you contend with your career, and Trace is proudly showing his trophy that he has already received for Mr. Basketball. Would you join me in congratulating Trace?
All right,
when do you have to report to IU?
Yeah. Not messing around.
All right.
Tuesday, you report Tuesday? Man, good luck to you.
I can just give a little bit further comment about Trace. He is such a fine, proud individual, and when he sees something that needs to be done to help someone else in school, he steps right up and gives help and assistance to the particular individual. So Trace, of course, we are so happy about your award, and we wish you congratulations with you and best luck as you proceed with your career.
And Trace, we would be remiss if we didn't ask Ray to stand up, because Ray, stand up. You know,
Well, I didn't even sing there.
there's somebody that really helps. You know, character is a big part of it, Ray, and we know that you were instrumental in building that
Yes.
character of him. And so, thank you so much for all that you do.
Thanks, Ray. We have on our agenda, the next report is from the Johnson County Public Library.
Handouts here to pass along. Thank you. Two tough and amazing acts to follow. I hope I can live up to those two stories. Hi, my name is Lisa Littner. I'm the library director for the Johnson County Public Library, and we have the White River branch in this township area. We want to thank you for giving us a few minutes on your agenda. We want to just share with you our year in review for 2018. You'll see a little info sheet on the first page inside our library guide of programs. And then we also included a yellow sheet of just some of our outstanding programs in the next 2 months that you and your family and friends might like to join us on. So just a quick overview of 2018. We checked out more than 1.1 million items from the public library last year. We have 4 branches in our county, and that was a 10% increase in materials checked out from 2017. So people are coming to the library super strong, over 400,000 visits. So the library is still a really popular place. In 2018, we introduced a lot of new programs and resources. We added a beehive to our prairie at Trafalgar Library, and we've been circulating something called pocket Wi-Fi hotspots. They're extremely popular. We have about 21 that check out now, and there's like 100 reserves on them. And this gives people a couple of weeks of free internet access at home, and then they return it when they're done and put it on reserve again and hope to get it in a few months again. So it's been a good program. Another program we're so excited to be partnering with Center Grove Schools on is our Smart Account programs, which gives fine-free access to a lot of our online databases for students. So here at Center Grove, we have more than 9,000 accounts for educators and students. We have 500 accounts at St. Francis and Clare School and 8,000 accounts at the Clark Pleasant schools. And our goal is to get all of the school districts in our library district these accounts by the end of 2021. So we held a teen art contest that was really popular. We had DNA reveal programs, and we introduced patrons to virtual reality through amazing headsets. And we launched our Library on the Prairie Festival, which is a pioneer festival that we held at the Trafalgar branch in June last year. We're going to be doing it again on June 8th this year, and it is so much fun. We had 600 people show up at the Trafalgar branch last year, and we expect a lot more this year. So we encourage anybody who likes history to come to that program. And we opened our 5th story walk not too far from you all at Winditch Park in Bargersville. And a story walk, if you don't know, is a great opportunity for families with preschoolers to start a love of learning and engage in nature. So there's a picture book that walks along the trail, and you read the picture book as you walk along the trail. It's really fun. Just want to tell you, be on the lookout. There's some more innovation coming to JCPL. We'll be checking out Chromebooks with hotspots that we'll check out for 6 weeks. That'll be coming in the next couple of months, and we'll also be adding an iMac to every library branch with the Adobe Creative Suite. So if you're into video, music editing, or if you need Photoshop, you'll be able to access it for free at the library. Now I want to introduce Darcy Stricker, who's a children's librarian at the White River Branch. She's going to tell you a little bit about our summer learning program.
Hello. I'm a children's librarian at the White River Branch, so I get to see and interact with Center Grove students on a daily basis. So it's really great to be able to talk to you all today. I just want to tell you a little bit about our summer learning program called Explore Summer. This is an annual summer program that goes from May 13th to July 31st. And during this time, people can sign up and they are reading, doing weekly learning challenges. They're attending our programs and receiving really great prizes along the way. In 2018, we had over 6,200 people participate in this program, and this year we hope to have even more than that. So we'd love to see every student at Center Grove, obviously, in this program, and we all know that summer slide can happen, and that reading and keeping our minds active over the summer is a really important thing. We're also excited to announce this year we're having a school reading competition. So all the schools in Johnson County are participating, and whichever school has the most students that complete the summer program will be named champion. And for that, you can have bragging rights and a traveling trophy, and also a $500 STEAM package courtesy of Anderson Hauser. So some really great initiatives to get some kids involved in reading over the summer. It's our hope that by working closely with schools and with the library that we can have more Center Grove students reading in the summer and learning, coming back to school in August, really prepared. And we plan on reading 3 million minutes together in Johnson County this summer. And I think with the help of your students, we can even exceed that goal.
Thank you very much.
Madam President, if I may, Lisa and I attend a lot of the same meetings in the county here, and I want to tell you that she not only has a love for promoting her library, but a love for White River and Johnson County, and being involved in, yes, she's promoting the library at some of these meetings, but she jumps right in on other areas and ideas. So she's just a wonderful asset for our county.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Our next item on the agenda is a presentation by Mrs. Nora Hoover, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning. Mrs. Hoover.
Thank you, Mrs. Toomey. During this last legislative session, there were some changes in 2 different laws that affect or could affect kindergarten enrollment for students in Indiana. And so I want to take the board through this report that goes through those updates. It also shares our current practices and policies at Center Grove, the process for Center Grove for the future, and then also the rationale for that. For a legislative update, and there's a lot of jargon here I won't read to you because you can read the Indiana code numbers, but basically in one of the legislative pieces in the budget bill, they changed and gave the opportunity for schools through their average daily membership, their ADM, to receive funding for students with birthdays between August 2nd and September 1st. And so that is a change from past years for the state. On the other side of that, though, there's a different law that says when the kindergarten date is set for the state of Indiana, and that did not change. So August 1st is still the deadline for kindergarten enrollment. So that's the last date of birthdays, still under law for kids in kindergarten. To kind of sum that up, the Indiana School Board Association sent out this advice to all the school boards around the state that said, basically to enroll in kindergarten, you still have to be 5 years old. However, under that second bullet, schools may adopt a procedure that offers an appeal process or a waiver for students with birthdays after that time period. And that would all be completely at the discretion of every school district to make those decisions. But that then through the budget bill, they could get funding if they chose to do that.
Thank you, Mrs. Hoover.
Oh, not done.
Oh, you're not
I'm
done.
still
Okay.
working, yeah.
You turned to look at me. huh?
Although I should, if you,
Yeah, 'cause I was giving her the,
sorry. So under our current policy of 5112, we have set the kindergarten age at 5, just as following the law. And that applies not only to kids starting school, the first day of school, but also kids that want to transfer in after that. So it also, if someone moves out of state, that 5 rule applies to them also. We also, though, in that same policy, says that the superintendent may establish practices for early entrance not only into kindergarten, but also to first grade. We have a lot of families who do kindergarten in private schools that have kindergarten programs and then transfer in. And so there is a policy, a provision in that policy that says that the superintendent will establish guidelines. So those guidelines for us are currently early entrance for kindergarten. There is no process. We do not offer a waiver for students born after August 1st. The early entrance for first grade, though, we do have a process for that. So parents have to submit a packet by June 1st to someone in my department. She's Director of Teaching and Learning for elementary schools. And for students then that apply for that and have that birthday after August 1st for first grade, they have to be 6 in that year. There's a screening process and a review of that packet that they turn in, and then we make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. So basically our current practices for elementary, so it's August 1st deadline for kindergarten entrance. Just to note, prior to 2018, we did have a waiver week that we gave consideration on a case-by-case basis for birthdays only in that short week window. We have not done that, though, in the last year. So moving forward, our process for Center Grove, we would like to comply with and hold on to that August 1st date for kindergarten entrance. We'd also like to continue to offer that early waiver for students entering first grade, as we do know some people do their kindergarten experience in a different setting, and that we want to give them the opportunity then to come into first grade if that's appropriate academically and socially for them. And really the considerations and the rationale that we followed in making this determination was the Superintendent's Advisory Council, and then also the administrators in the Teaching and Learning Department with me considered multiple perspectives prior to bringing this to you tonight. It included gathering input from all 6 of our elementary principals. And I will say they strongly supported keeping the August 1st deadline for kindergarten entrance. They are the ones who are working with those students every day and working with those teachers to support that learning. And they felt overwhelmingly that they would like to keep that date at August 1st for Center Grove. One of the other considerations was the social emotional readiness of younger students and the behavior concerns. And we included a lot of research on best practices for helping students. And social emotional learning, or SEL, is a really big deal right now. And we want to make sure we're setting kids up for the best possible academic and social success for them. And we thought that was one of the reasons for wanting to stay with our process. And also we wanted to balance any fiscal gains that we might gain short-term with the long-term success of students, which at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And we really felt like this process, while no process is perfect, and there are lots of individual needs of different children, that we needed to set a date, and a couple of days really wasn't going to make that much difference for most students. So that is the process we'd like to continue for next school year and beyond, until which time we maybe ever want to look at it again.
So, now she's done.
Okay.
I'm done. I'm done. Yep.
So in order to clarify, this is not a change from last year to this year, except for that 1 week you were talking about?
No, we did not have
Oh, you
that
did?
last
Okay.
year. No, we haven't done that. This would be going into the second
So
year. that
nothing
we
has
haven't.
changed?
Nothing, there would not be a change.
Okay, thank
The
you.
one thing we wouldn't change to comply with the budget bill. We would just stay with the regular kindergarten enrollment data set by law.
Which we're allowed to do.
Yes, we are allowed to do.
Okay.
And it'll vary around the state, I'm sure.
Thank you.
So Mrs. Hoover, I want to thank you and Dr. Arkanoff and the principals for the time I know you guys have spent on discussing this. I'm sure there were many conversations I know there were many conversations about this based on the email trails I've seen. I know this is a report and, we're not taking there's no official action for the board to take other than I'm supportive of the decision that has been made here, and I think it is the correct one.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I've ever seen the elementary principals all reply so quickly to an email. I will say that, because they've really seen a difference in students, and it's not bad, it's just different, and different needs, and they want to make sure they're taking care of kids, and age has a lot to do with it, maturity, and while a lot of it was quantitative, there is a lot of research to back up that it's not just happening here, it's happening all over.
I guess I have one comment and then one question. I guess the first comment I have on your very last slide, you said balance fiscal gains versus the long-term success of students. I think it's important that ultimately, I don't know if everyone knows, we get a certain allocation of money per student. But for us, we're not going to put a child in too early just to get a few more dollars. To us, it's the long-term success of the student that is most important. So I just want to make sure that I point that out. I think that's, something we truly believe in here. Obviously, we want to be able to do as much as we can with the money that we have, but we're not going to sacrifice long-term success just for putting kids in early. Now, the second question I have is this waiver for students going in the first grade. Do we have a lot of that? Do we just have a couple a year? Just historically, how does that work?
It varies, but it varies probably between 1 and 5.
So it's not an
very many.
influx?
It's usually because people want to take advantage of a program somewhere else. Maybe it's at their church or their preschool goes through K and they want to keep their child there and then bring them in first.
So there is an avenue, if somebody believes that their child is ready, then
Yes.
send them kindergarten somewhere else and then come here first grade, and there's a waiver process.
Yes, we do have that.
Okay. And that we've had and we're going to maintain. We're not changing it?
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I too want to applaud the effort. I saw the emails too, that I know this isn't an easy decision.
No.
Because you're trying to do what's best for the child, best for the school, and I too think this is the right decision, not an easy one, but thanks for all the effort.
You're welcome. I know one of the easy things, and some schools do this, they retain children that aren't ready for first grade, but we also know there's a detrimental effect to retention, and it should be a very last resort, and we do not want to see more students being retained.
I will give you personal experience I was probably one of the kids, of course, the laws were a little different back in those ages, but I was one of the kids that was very young for my class. Intellectually, I was fine, but where this hits for me is when you get up into your middle school grades and your high school, lots of social things really hit you when you're a younger student. I won't go into all of them, but that's where I think this is why we need to stay where we're at, to guard against that. Intellectually, your child may be ready at 5, but it's down the road where the problems could arise.
Thank you for comments, questions. Any further questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mrs. Hoover, for your information. And I would encourage those of you in the audience, if you have further questions, please don't hesitate to Mrs. Hoover or someone here in the school that we can answer your questions. Thank you so much, Nora. At this time, I would like to call on Mr. William Payne, who is the CEO principal with Fanning Howey. And he's going to be presenting to us the natatorium update.
Thank you, President Toomey, members of the board, Dr. Arkanoff. We're pleased to be here this evening. With me is Mike Shipp. Mike is our project manager. Mike's also a principal and an architect with Fanning Howey. And also here in support of Mr. Jim Gawley. Jim is with Hunt AECom, the construction manager. We've been working with them closely throughout this process. And as we're moving towards more detailed development of design documents, getting ready for bidding, it's appropriate at this time to come before you and give you a brief presentation and design update. We're very excited about this project. I think you will be as well. We've been working closely with Aquatics Club, certainly representatives from the high school, both administration, athletic department, coaches, district administrators, and other patrons that have interest. And so this has truly been a collaborative effort. And what we're bringing to you this evening is a very flexible facility that will serve you and serve your community for many years to come. I'd like to walk through some plans which aren't quite as exciting, then I'll come back to the renderings, the three-dimensional renderings, which I think tell us all a little bit more about this project. So this will be located to the west of the Student Activity Center. It will look very similar to that. In fact, you may recall that at the time of the Student Activity Center, we had master planned this site as a potential location for a new swimming complex. So I like to characterize it as an extrusion moving west towards Morgantown Road of the Student Activity Center, and you'll see that it'll look very similar to it. Because we anticipated this, we'll make relatively modest modifications to the existing site. We will be reducing some of the parking, but as you can see, immediately west of the building, which is the beige area, we'll have a drop-off with a fair amount of curbing there for drop-off pickup. We'll have steps up to the main entrance as well as a ramp to the main entrance, so it'll be fully accessible and will blend in well with the current circulation. Now, relating to that main entrance there to the left, and by the way, north, of course, is up, west is to the left, is the entrance into what we're calling the entry commons. And so upon entering this area, this will be a very generous corridor area. It will certainly serve for students moving in and out of the high school, but at the same time, it's large enough so that, as we know, surge from major activities, spectator events, there'll be plenty of area for spectators to move. The entry commons and the corridor system is in yellow. Far to the east end of that entry commons is a concessions area, public restrooms, storage, and then to the south, and what is sort of a violet color there, are entrances into the main seating, the spectator seating area. And this is in fact a full story above the pool, so when you walk out to that area, you'll be looking down over the pool deck. So we will not have a mix of spectators and swimmers. Those will be separated by a story. As you enter in, and this is one of our favorite architectural terms of all time, you enter in through vomitories. So what a wonderful, colorful term that tells you exactly the purpose of that, right? So the way that Mike and our team have designed this is you enter in, actually the cross aisle, so that you'll be moving east to the west to get to the seat that you like will be at the very top. So that'll help with minimizing obstructed views down to the swimmers. We also have an access directly to the Student Activity Center walking track. For those of you that are familiar with that, if you look at the west side, you'll see that there's actually an emergency exit comes out at that level and then steps down. We need to maintain that, so an emergency situation, that access will come actually into the entry commons and then exit out to the west. Now, if we move down to the main activity level, to the pool deck level, and I know that pool diagram is very detailed, but I'll touch on a few things here. So there's a main staircase that will lead either students or spectators or other users down to the lower level commons, which relates to the same floor level as the access to the Student Activity Center and also to your Hall of Champions, also access to Vandermeer Gymnasium. We have two ways to enter into the pool deck, one which would be for officials or other coaches or so forth, is in the violet area, and it's immediately adjacent to what is, we're saying there, HOSP, which is hospitality or classrooms. To the left are 4 fully functional locker rooms that can be used separately, or they can be combined if necessary, so that you would have girls' PE and athletics for a big event, or they can be separated and used separately. Likewise, boys' athletics and boys' PE. We have offices located in each one of those that have visual observation of the locker rooms. We've minimized any types of corners or areas, small areas, so there's visual access for supervision of those areas. But then those offices, 3 of those offices also have direct relationship access and visual observation onto the pool deck itself. So we've called that a hospitality, but really it's 2 classrooms with an operable wall in between, so that can be used for classroom purposes during the normal school day. We have a very ample storage area immediately to the east of that, and you can see that oftentimes in pool design, just like your house, we never have enough storage, so we have a very ample, large storage area. The pool deck goes around the entire perimeter of the pool, and then you can also see a really nice feature, which is the therapy pool. I'll touch on that just briefly. So that has 3-foot depth of water. It has an accessible ramp so that disabled or otherwise individuals that need to have access can use that ramp to get down into that facility. It's 3 foot in depth. It has a continuous bench around the perimeter, also has water jets, and we have been working with, again, with the appropriate personnel to design that to make sure that it serves as many different functions as possible. The pool equipment room is packed with very important equipment. We can get into that in detail if you want. My guess is you don't want to talk about that per se tonight, but it's certainly a state-of-the-art equipment that will do a great job. That's the beige area down to the south and west, down at the lower right-hand corner. The pool technically is called a 50-meter stretch pool, and it does so many things, and that's why there's a lot of detail there. So by 50-meter stretch, basically it's 182 feet in length, so it not only accommodates a 50-meter course from east to west, but it also then, with the bulkheads in place, has 2 warm-up lanes. But that's sort of derivative of the primary function, which is to provide multiple considerations or multiple configurations for 25-yard pools, which is the primary thing that we're concerned about at the high school competitive level. So our main competition pool is going to be east-west at the west end of the pool, or to the left-hand side. There are 10 lanes of 7-foot width, and so that first bulkhead there, the 6-foot bulkhead, would be positioned to accommodate that course. The balance of the pool area then could be used for warm-up lanes or warm down or whatever. And you could also have diving at the same time. We have 3 diving stands on the south side. Over to the right-hand side, you can see those extending over the pool deck. We have 1 3-meter stand and 2 1-meter stands. That's pretty standard for high school competitions. Now, even though it looks like, you're gonna say, Bill, it looks like there's 4 bulkheads. There's only 2. We just happen to show multiple positions, so I apologize if that might be confusing. But the neat thing about these bulkheads is they are easily moved. They're almost flush with the pool deck, and they're easily moved into different positions quickly so that you can configure for different types of activities. Now, if you take them all the way down to where they're paired up at the right-hand side to the west end like they're shown, you actually have the capability for 27 cross lap swim lanes at 25 yards because the pool is 25 yards in width. So you have a great opportunity there for practice, training, PE. The other neat thing about the bulkheads is if you position them in the middle, similar to about where they're at right now, our pool level starts at the starting block at recommended level of 7 feet depth, but then it actually rises in the middle of the pool to 4 foot. So you can have learn to swim in the middle of the pool even as you're doing other types of activities. So that's a great feature of this type of configuration. And there are a lot of other configurations that we can put the pool in, but they do a lot of different things. So it's not only a 50-meter stretch, but it does many things for you.
Bill, before you
Yes.
move on, could you talk a little bit more about the pool depth and just kind of,
Good.
you know, that we've had that conversation a little bit, concerns about the depth and the fact that it does come up in the middle.
Right. So the key thing for starting, the recommendations currently are 2 meters. So actually we are at 2.2 meters in depth of our starting. So we are at that recommended level for both high school and collegiate championships. So we should meet all criteria for years to come. In the 25-yard configuration for starting, going east and west, both on the 6-foot bulkhead as well as at the far west end, we have full 7 foot. At that point, the bottom of the pool tank raises up to 4 feet. That is not impacting any of the competitive level in the 25-yard area. And it raises up to a point so that between the bulkheads then we're at 4 feet in depth, and then it drops back down at the deep end to 13'6" for the diving stands, which is recommended, as well as for the balance of the pool. We had a lot of discussions about this. There are 2 things that affect affect speed of pool because, of course, we have both learn to swim, PE, but we also are interested in competition here. The biggest factor is our gutter, our perimeter gutter, and the fact that we want to take waves from the swimmers and not return or reverberate that wave back in. And so our gutters are deep, they're flush with the surface of the water, and that's the primary driver for that. The science is out on depth of pool and how much impact that has, and is there reverberation from the bottom of the pool. But certainly at 7 feet as a recommended starting depth, that's more than satisfactory. Now in the 50-meter configuration, obviously those swimmers are going to be swimming across the top of the 4 foot. And there was some concern about that. We believe that it's a more than reasonable trade-off to have that 4 foot for learn to swim. And we have done 3 pools here recently, Hamilton Southeastern, Fishers High School, Pike High School, all have this configuration. And in fact, when Pike High School started, when they first opened up their pool, the first competition, 3 state records were broken over the top of that 4 foot. So we have no concerns that that has any impact on the competition. And again, provides you the flexibility for learn to swim.
So the concerns of hitting the bottom of the pool or touching it with your hands on a, really.
No. And in fact, it never comes into play in any of the starting positions, either off the 6 foot bulkhead or at the ends of the pool. It's out in the middle where it'll have no impact.
Gotcha.
Doesn't sound like it affects the performance either.
No, it does not.
Mobilities.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so, sorry, I jumped back up. This is the very top, and I mentioned, so we have a cross aisle at the top of the seating. So actually you have some standing room for spectators, but also if you're moving east to west to find your seat, your bench seating within the seating area, you're not impacting or walking in front of folks when you're doing that up there. And of course, then we have that all important, we have a large mechanical area because we have air handling and dehumidification units over there to the right-hand side. When we originally started the design, we thought that that was going to be an open roof area. In consultation with Hunt AECom, we felt that in fact, if we just kept the roof continuous across the top and enclosed that area, that would actually be slightly less cost, but it would prolong the life of our mechanical equipment. So that in fact, you won't see that slot like we had suggested in earlier renderings. It'll be a continuous roof area all the way across. Okay, so this is what your new facility will look like for Morgantown Road, very similar to the Student Activity Center. One important difference, we have lots of windows there. That's very important.
That's great.
There are those that spend a lot of time as coaches and patrons in swimming pools where they never had any windows in there, and so you always felt like you were enclosed. There's nothing wrong with windows. We will be using solar control glass so that we'll minimize glare. But it's very nice to be able to see what's going on outside as you're watching competitions, and we all know, particularly in age group swim, those can last all day and all weekend. So it's delightful to be able to see what's going on outside at the same time. Over to the left-hand side, then, you can see the new main entrance into the swimming complex. There's also a pair of doors, and that's an exit required directly out of our seating area, and that would just be an emergency exit there. But otherwise, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Any concern about those windows facing west, sunsets and so forth, lights
We'll be
glaring?
specifying low E glass and solar control, so we're not concerned about that. Right. We believe they'll be able to control that from a glare standpoint and otherwise. Then along the south side, as you know, we have a gentle slope that continues down. We will have purely a service access for gators and small equipment like that to get on the south side of the building. Otherwise, that won't be a heavily used area. And we've configured this in such a way so that we keep the existing retaining wall that was built during the Student Activity Center and the equipment that serves the PRC. Okay, so this is, here you would be in the northwest corner up at the very top of the balcony looking back within the pool house itself. And now I will point out there's some inconsistencies between the final design and what appears to be the pool bottom, so I'm not going to touch on that. Next rendering you see will correct that. But you can see the 2 bulkheads that are in differing positions to set up different types of course criteria for the pool area. You can see the diving stands to the far southeast of on the pool deck. Over to the left-hand side in the far end, you can see where the therapy pool is located. Now, I forgot to point this out in the plan, but I think this is a pretty cool thing. So you remember, Our floor surface in the Student Activity Center is a multi-purpose surface. It's a rubber compound, very impervious to moisture. One of the things that we often see in age group swims and large competitions is what do we do with those swimmers when they're not participating and they're not on the deck? So we have that connection so that they can go and they can be in the Student Activity Center, be cordoned off there. We'll also have monitors so they can see what's happening in the pool house and be advised as to what timing and what's happening. But otherwise, this provides a lot of flexibility of movement back and
Well,
forth.
the other nice thing, it's pulling them out of the Hall of Excellence.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing like having a program in the auditorium and walking through a bunch of kids in bikinis.
Good.
Are you all, just
Yeah.
also talk about how we can get wheelchairs down into the therapy pool?
Yes, right. So we, of course, have elevator access down to the Hall of Excellence floor, and from there, we can move through the pool deck or through the locker rooms. These are all accessible to the pool deck. And from there, the therapy pool has a ramp that actually starts on the north side of the therapy pool and wraps around two sides. We will also have a hoist there because either one of those is often important. You know, you can't take your normal wheelchair into the pool. You need a pool wheelchair, and so some prefer to use the lift. So we'll have both capabilities, and we'll also have lift capabilities into the main pool itself. The pool deck's configured so that participants will be on portable bleachers on the far side, on the south side, as you can see over there. That'll free up for officials and other coaches and so forth on the north side. Up in the seating area, on the horizontal surface, we'll be using a high-density water, basically moisture impervious carpet material that you've seen in many other pool facilities. So that keeps the noise down, but it's also very appropriate for that area. Vertical surfaces will just be sealed concrete, and then we'll have contoured continuous benches for seating. We're using a glass handrail system. Again, because of the steepness of the rake of the seating, it's certainly comfortable. We want to make sure and improve as much sight lines to the pool as we can. So actually, you're always looking between heads in any type of seating arrangement, so you'll be able to actually look through the glass handrail system at the front there. Up above, and we'll see this a little bit more clearly, so we have floating ceiling clouds in this area. In the Student Activity Center, of course, it's all just exposed steel structure, but here we want to have better acoustical control, and we're also using indirect lighting. That indirect lighting is actually located over the top of the deck. In old style, we'd have lights over the pool. You'd have to drain the pool, build scaffolding to change out lights. Well, these are LED light fixtures and are located above the pool deck so they can be accessed via a lift from the deck without emptying the pool. And we use the clouds to reflect light off of to get uniform light. We'll also have translucent light panels on the south side of the building, and you can see those, and those are stopped or interrupted by a major scoreboard, which we're showing on the south wall there above some of the colorful detail that we'll add to the walls.
Bill,
Yes.
talk a little bit about when we talked about temperature control and environment for spectators versus the people on the swimmers on the deck, so.
So my two were not swimmers, so I never had to deal with this. But I know many that would say, yeah, they'd go into the, you know, they could only stand it so long. So in the dead of winter, you're up there in shorts and a t-shirt because basically all the moisture and humidity rises to the top and the spectators are sweltering up there. So current design, we're dealing with those two in separate zones. So we will have a separate zone serving a spectator area there that's specific to that, and then a zone that's serving the pool area. The other thing that we do is we deliver high and then we return low, so we create a continuous movement of air, and that's really helpful. And so you'll see in some of the newer pools, whether it's Pike or otherwise, where we've employed that type of design, we maintain good comfort in the seating area, so that will not be a problem. Okay, so now I've just skipped, and now I'm down near the diving stands. I'm down in the southeast corner at the pool deck looking back up. And this is going to be just as delightful as the Student Activity Center, because remember, we're going to have all of those translucent panels across the north side with that nice north filler light. My guess is that for a good time during the day, we're going to use very little artificial light. Those are, of course, dimmable. We'll be taking advantage of all that light coming there, as well as from our western windows. We'll have a tile pattern on the floor. Actually, it'll be not quite as uniform. It'll be more of a random pattern. Ceramic mosaic tile is probably the best, both for moisture and being impervious to moisture, but also in terms of friction for bare feet. Yeah, because we have those grout joints regularly in the 2x2 tiles, so that tends to perform well. And again, you can see a representation of the bulkheads. The classrooms / hospitality rooms are the large glass area there to the right, to the far side of one of the entrances. So not only can you have officials looking through there and observing, or other patrons, but then if you're having a learn to swim class or other activities, you'll have views onto the pool deck so you can continually observe. At the far end, it's sort of difficult to see, but we'll have a permanent timing platform. It'll be raised, and it will be enclosed in a glass enclosure. It'll have its own air system. This is one of the things we talked about in detail with the users. And the reason for that is the officials, as they're doing the timing of some of the noise and from spectators and otherwise, all of the activity going on can be confusing to their activities. And so they'll have better acoustical control in that enclosure there at the far northwest end of the pool deck. Again, here you get a little bit better view of the acoustical clouds, the cloud ceilings above, and again, our perimeter lights that go around that are above the deck area. It's going to be a very attractive environment to be in.
How does the roof open up for sunshine?
Oh,
Is that more expensive?
Yeah, we did not plan that one, yeah.
oh, thank you, Mr. Payne. Are there questions for Mr. Payne from members of the board?
All right, Bill, when are we gonna be done? Should've known that was
I
coming.
knew that was
Where's your
coming, Mr.
project
Alexander.
manager at? We already have this mapped
Yeah, that's
out,
it.
right?
Mike's going to answer that
So, yeah,
question,
good.
yeah.
I don't see a hole in the ground.
No, in all seriousness, is this projected to be done 2021?
Same
That's a
systems.
slight nod.
Same system. The most interesting thing about this one is because of the slope coming up, typically what we'll do is we'll erect all the walls, we'll put the roof on, then we'll go back inside and dig the pool out after we're undercover. So that's the standard process.
Oh, so
That makes
winter,
sense.
like that.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Plus, we're controlling precipitation from above so that we have a cleaner excavation, so. yeah.
So will you leave like 2 sections of wall out or something before you do that? Yeah, okay.
That's how they built the original, I remember now. They left the wall open. Yeah, it was around already and they were bringing dirt out all the time, I remember that now.
Other questions from members of the board?
I just want to compliment you and your group, project manager. This is a gorgeous design.
Thank you.
It's a significant upgrade, and to hear all the considerations that go in now to building something like this compared to when the last one was put in. And I'm excited to see the changes. And we've already had the presentation on the other changes to the rest of the school and how we're repurposing some of that space, and, that's all good for the future. And this is similar, so I want to commend you and your group for an innovative design, and now you just have to show it's going to work, right?
Yeah.
Bill, again, I want to compliment you too with working with all the different groups.
Yes.
Is there anything that you feel like we weren't able to do for the groups that was significant?
No, I think once we satisfied the answers for having a good competitive pool that was very flexible in terms of depth, starting and so forth, once we satisfied that, I think everybody else's concerns were pretty much addressed satisfactorily. I thought everybody left those meetings being very excited. So, we feel very good about that.
Bill's being modest. We met with diver parents, swim parents, aquatic club officers, swim coaches, PE teachers, all kinds of people. OT and PT therapists. So it was, that's why I think he can say no, because we talked to so many people and got their input and still tried to make it fit in with what the board's vision was for this. And they've done a great job working with everybody and incorporating their suggestions in here.
Well, and this conversation started when we built the Student Activity Center. So one of the things that I'm excited about is, there was forward thinking there when we built the Student Activity Center for, hey, this is where we think we're pretty confident the pool's going here, so let's just plan on that. So
Let's
it
just
does-
do it.
Yeah, it's not gonna look different, or you're not gonna see like a separation like you see in other parts of the building, like we have today. So I'm excited to see how this all fits together, so.
Okay. Thank you, Bill, and your associates, and we look forward working with you, and we are so excited. Thanks a
So I noticed I
lot.
only got 2021, August, September.
Sure. Yeah.
That's Jim's question.
That's when you're supposed to ask him what his birthday is.
As we move forward, our next item on the agenda is a natatorium. Wait a minute, I need to turn the page. We've already done that. Safety and security, community feedback, Dr. Long.
Thank you. Just to kind of go back a little bit in time, in October of 2018, the board asked us to have a safety audit done of all of our school buildings and campuses. We contracted with Safe Havens International. They're a world-renowned group that does this for all kinds of schools and campuses, college campuses and everything. So we wanted to give you some of the feedback that we got from our safety audit. The first thing, well, there are lots of suggestions for us. He wanted to make sure we knew, and I like this quote, we found numerous impressive positive efforts to enhance safety. And then that being said, he gave us a whole bunch of suggestions that we could do to do better. And you guys all know that, we all know that there's always things that we can do to improve safety in our buildings. And I don't think we could ever do too much safety to keep our kids and staff safe. So some of the things I mentioned, that we had our own police department. I'm sure most of you know that we're the second school police department in the state of Indiana. And again, it's because of board's forward thinking and to do that, to establish that. We have canine officers on our staff. Those are the dogs, not the police. We have 3 dogs. The community support for those, you remember, the PTOs bought one of them, really about 1 3/4 of them. And then the third dog, we had one community member donate the money to have a dog. So we have 3 dogs, which, is just, whenever we talk about this, the other police agencies are envious because of what we can do with our dogs and everything. One of the things they talked about was our multi-agency cooperation. We'll talk a little bit more about that later tonight with what we do. But we get great support from both fire departments, the Johnson County Sheriff's Department. We do training with the airport police, with our dogs. I mean, we just have great relationships with some of our other public safety agencies. Talked about the secure vestibules. Remember that we invested money in our buildings to put a secure vestibule in all of our buildings. We have an anonymous reporting system where you can report safety or bullying or any kind of things that you want. Talked about the 13 certified school safety specialists. We're only required by law to have one in our corporation, and we have 13. And my goal is to try to have one in at least every building, just because it always helps to have another eye on what we're doing. And our police department does a great job of keeping their eye out, but it never hurts to have additional eyes on it. And then the ThorGuard lightning detection system. I keep forgetting about this. We've had this for a while, but they talked about this being the best system available to help predict lightning strikes and to keep our kids safe when they're outside, either during recess or PE or at an athletic event. So that being said, he gave us some areas that he thought we could improve on. They were live monitoring, faster response time, and some additional deterrence, some mental health screening and counselors, and some climate and relationship, social and emotional behavior supports for our students. So under the live monitoring, a couple of the things, to increase the number of cameras, add video and audio analytic software. We've added the software to do that. We have the smart cameras. They do an analysis of what it takes about 6 months for them to learn what's normal activity in the area that they're monitoring. And then if there's something that's what it would be considered abnormal, it would identify that and track that and follow. Some of the other stuff that the analytical software and video does, if we had somebody in the visitor, a stranger, or a stranger in the building, and they weren't supposed to be there, it would help us track that based on article of clothing or something that they had on. Those were some areas that they thought we could do better. Improve some of our emergency diagrams and develop photo tours for our buildings. That helps our first responders a little bit. We've started on that. We did a photo tour of all of our utilities. And we shared with the sheriffs and the fire departments. This is the valve to shut off the gas, and this is the valve to shut off, because sometimes there may not be a maintenance guy or a building level person there to show them how to do that. So we've given them copies. We have a copy down in the utility room where those are. One of the things that he told us to do with the live monitoring is suggested that we visit Littleton, Colorado. He said, if you want to see a place that's doing this right, go see what Littleton's doing. So we, Mr. Alexander and Dr. Arkanoff and Chief Jackson and I went to Littleton to talk to them about their live monitoring, talk to them about what they do for mental health support, and we came back with a lot of great ideas. Fast response time and some deterrence. We need to continue to standardize our emergency plans, just work on drills. You know that it's kind of like practice in athletics. You play how you practice, and we need to keep practicing and practicing, so when we have a drill or we have an incident, we're ready and we know exactly what we're supposed to do. Add duress buttons throughout the building and give people the authorization to use them, that you don't have to go to the main office and hit a button, that they might be spread out throughout the buildings. Improve access control. That's our, we use Lobby Guard, and we have people screen in and out and everything. Require all staff to wear ID badges, and high visibility vests and training for our administrators who are out in the parking lots directing traffic. Is Mrs. Nelson still here? Because she was the one that we needed to get her a high visibility vest. So the other area for improvement or some recommendations or some mental health screenings, counselors. We need to develop a standardized multidisciplinary threat assessment, improve our approach to suicide and self-harm prevention. The law changed now where all of our teachers have to be trained in suicide prevention. The high school got a jump on that. They've trained their staff. This fall, we're going to train the elementary and middle school staff, so everybody's going to be trained on suicide prevention. Some climate and relationship and social emotional, just a little bit of talk about our approach to bullying prevention and how we deal with that and how we interact with the students that are both the victims and the perpetrators of bullying. So when we took all that information, then back in March we did a thought exchange, a survey of our parents and our staff. We asked them 2 questions. We ask them, what are some important things for us to consider as we work to ensure our schools are safe places for all students and staff? And what are some of the most important things we can do to support your students' social and emotional well-being at school? We had, and we were really happy with this, we had 1,236 participants. They logged or noted 934 different thoughts. And then we had 32,412 ratings. So if you got on there, if you took the survey and there was a comment on there, you could rate that from 1 star to 4 stars. And like, yeah, that's really important, or now that one's not very important. So 32,000 ratings for the 934 thoughts was really, really good. Gave us some things, and they honestly lined up with some of the things that Safe Havens International told us that we ought to do. So the top-rated things that Stacy pulled this PowerPoint together. Some of the top thoughts for mental health screening and counselors were provide mental health services to all to more than just students who would qualify for Medicaid. Provide mental health resources and licensed counselors in all of our buildings. and provide mental health support and evaluations for kids that just are struggling. And then, again, mental health services for all students. We had too many, these are comments we took straight from the survey, too many students have untreated mental health issues. Climate, relationship, and social emotional, they rated out to about a 3.8. I think the first one was 4, those were all 4-star. So drug and alcohol issues, openly discuss safety and well-being with our kids, additional support for teachers. We've seen a lot more behaviors that are outbursts, and our parents and our staff commented that our teachers probably need a little more support when we're dealing with this. And just that safe feeling, or feeling safe. Our kids want to make sure that, or we want to make sure our kids come to school and they feel safe when they're in our buildings. Security response time and deterrence, again, averaged about a 3.7 stars. So fast communication to parents, and we kind of chuckled when we saw this, because if you've got kids in the building and they have a cell phone, you know no fast communication beats a kid's text home to mom or dad. No matter how quick Stacy is, and no matter how fast we are, we've probably not beat home a text from a kid if we've had a lockdown or if we've had another issue at the building. But, you know, we continue to look for ways to talk to our parents and communicate with our parents to let them know. They suggested we need to have common sense, easy to follow safety plans. We have the ability to close and lock down doors and hallways, and you, as a board, know we've worked on that, and we've worked on that, and we've tried to retrofit buildings, and doing that while also not violating the fire marshal's requirements of having kids get out of the building is sometimes a little tough to do. But I think, you know, we're working with the architects, especially on the high school, as we start to do renovation at the high school. Got high ratings, an alarm system that would alert the police or fire department in some kind of intruder that's not supposed to be in the building. Another area, the live monitoring of facilities, also 3-star. Building safety, they thought our entrances should be monitored the same method each day, includes both during and before and after school. You know, if you've been in the high school, there's something going on in the high school about 23 and a half hours a day, 7 days a week, it seems like. They make a great point. We need to figure out a way to be able to monitor that building safety, not just when school's in session, but other times. Manage and controlled entrances, access to school during evening activities should also be monitored. And somebody wrote that they'd like to see a resource officer in each building. I think that gives people a feeling of safety and deterrence if they had either a school resource officer or a school safety officer in the buildings. So there's a summary of our thought exchange on the website. Stacy did a great job. Stacy did this presentation. She built out the website. She mopped the floors and did everything else. So she does a great job, but I really appreciate her putting this all together. And she wrestled with the thought exchange people to get the information back in an understandable way, and then she translated it and put it on the website. Wanted to remind everyone that we're going to have a community presentation on Tuesday, May 28th at 6:30 in the high school auditorium. We'll talk a little bit about this with our community, the thought exchange and the Safe Havens audit, and then I think Dr. Arkanoff is going to talk a little bit about our Vision 10,000, what we look like as we grow towards the future. Do you want to talk anything else about that, or are you?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah. You did a great job, and Stacy.
Okay. Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Long. Do we have any questions or comments from board members? All right, all is well. Thank you so much. It's amazing the responses that you had in this study. It's just unbelievable.
Don't let them in. It's safety.
Make sure you recognize who it is.
Thank you.
Mr. Tim, see, I told you we shouldn't have let him in.
That's a security breach.
Moving right along, we will move to the consent agenda. There are no public comments this evening. I neglected to say that, but no one signed up to speak. So we'll move on to the consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion to approve that group of items.
Madam President, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander.
I second.
Mr. Russell? Okay, the motion has been made and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Do I hear a vote? All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Likewise? Motion carried. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
All right, we move now to action items. And the first one is a resolution for financing of the public safety building project.
No, we
No,
should
sorry,
have
the-
purchase of property.
Oh, okay, yeah, here it is. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we'll have approval of resolution for purchase of property. Dr. Long, it's your,
Thank you.
yeah.
As you know, just to review everything, if the school board is interested in purchasing property, there's some procedures that we have to take. We have to adopt a resolution indicating our interest in purchasing the specific land or structure. We will then need to appoint 2 appraisers to appraise the fair market value of the land or the structure. They have to be professionally engaged in making appraisals or trained as an appraiser under Indiana code. The appraiser should then return their appraisals to us, and we'll keep those appraisals on file for 5 years. Attached is a resolution that indicates that we are interested in purchasing the property at 2812 South Morgantown Road. For some of you that have been here longer than I have, it's the old Orchard building that I think the board has been interested in trying to purchase for a little while. The resolution also permits the corporation to appoint 2 appraisers, and then allows us to enter into an agreement to purchase it for the amount not to exceed the average of 2 appraisers, and it authorizes us, the school district, to execute the necessary documents to complete the sale. That's it.
Okay, do we need to have that?
So, yeah, we need a motion.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the purchase of this property?
Madam President, I move that we approve the resolution to purchase the property as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Daniels. The motion has been made and second to approve the purchase of the property mentioned. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, likewise. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Long.
Thank you.
Our next item is the approval of a resolution for the financing of the Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you, Mrs. Toomey. This evening, I'm recommending that the board approve a resolution for financing of the Emergency Operations Center, ever here called the what is it
EOC.
called? The
EOC.
EOC. So with that, Dr. Long and Dr. Gabriel will provide you with some information.
Thanks. I get to go first, and I have to tell you how exciting this project is for us. And we have with us tonight, I'd like for them all to come up with me if they don't mind. Chief Pell from the White River Township Fire Department, Chief Funkhauser from the Bargersville Fire Department, and Chief Jackson from the Center Grove Police Department. You guys get to come on up here with me anyway. So this is a real exciting venture for us. This all started when a few years ago when White River Township approached us about the possibility of purchasing land to put a fire station between Pleasant Grove and Middle School Central. We kept talking about that. We loved the idea of having the fire department right out front. We thought it was a great deterrent. We heard from Safe Havens International that we needed to have things that were deterrents. We love the quick response time. Again, that was something that was mentioned. So we started talking about the central campus. We have at some point in time during the day nearly 5,000 people on our central campus between students and staff from the Bridges and Alternative School, the technology up north to Center Grove Elementary. So that's larger than some small towns are. It's a lot of people on one campus. So we started having this discussion, these three groups. The Sheriff's Department has joined with us as well. We've been working with them on quick response and drilling and what we need to do. So we started talking about what could we do on the main campus. The White River Township Fire Department got some funding from the county to be able to put an ambulance somewhere around the main campus. We have a police department that's currently in the alternative school that felt that we needed a place for them to go. We needed a place to be able to do some live monitoring of our cameras like we talked about. So it made sense that we would try to figure out a partnership with these agencies that not just the students and the staff of the school corporation benefit, but the whole entire White River Township, we think, benefits from something like this. So we think the taxpayers are going to benefit just as much as the students and staff are. The purpose, it'll dramatically decrease the response time to our most densely populated, the main campus. It brings together all the agencies that serve White River Township together, and it gives us a centralized location for monitoring not just our cameras, but all of our alarm systems and the things that we do in various different places to be able to do that all in one place. So we talked about it'd be a headquarters for the Center Grove Police Department. We'd have offices and locations for emergency vehicles and personnel for the White River Township Fire Department, the Bargersville Fire Department, the Johnson County Sheriff's Department, and the Center Grove Police Department, all under one roof, right across the street from the high school with the board just approving the resolution for us to purchase that property. It'll go right directly across the street. I think our next slide is not it. We'll break ground hopefully in October of 2019, be complete by September of 2020. I thought there you go. That's what it would look like. We're still working on the final plan of the building, but you can see, again, north is to the top, east is to the right, and that's right lined with the entrance to the high school. It's our maintenance building in the back there, but we have enough room to staff that. We would have a place to have probably an ambulance, another piece of fire apparatus, a third bay to be able to grow into, and then a barracks area that where the fire department who are manning the apparatuses would stay. Is it apparati? Is there just one, just apparatus? I just want to make sure. Okay, just making sure I was. So that's what it looks like. I can't thank these guys enough. We've spent a great deal of time with Axis Architecture firm that are designing. What's your station number? What's that?
Station 53.
53. Yeah, their fire headquarters. They've worked with us. We've had numerous meetings. Mr. Hoffman over there from White River Township sat in on a couple of them. We've really kind of tried to work this where this meets everybody's needs, but again, it will greatly benefit the school corporation, but also the taxpayers of White River Township. We're really excited about this project. So and then Dr. Gabriel's going to talk to you about money. I'm just going to talk to you about how exciting this is. But I do want to thank all three chiefs. They've spent a lot of hours with us as we've tried to put together what works for all of the agencies combined. We think, working together, we're one of the few agencies, or the few organizations that have gotten 4 different agencies together and agree that we could be better serve the community in one building. So that's all I have. If you have any questions before Dr. Gabriel tells you how we're going to fund this.
If we could stop hearing the conversation and get it for free, I'd be absolutely,
Sorry, he's still gonna talk.
but on a serious note, I think, you can't overemphasize the collaborative nature of this. And, the excitement, I know Mr. Alexander too, was one of them that came to me first about a lot of these ideas about putting these strategically located to help
He's
everybody.
been behind the scenes gently shoving us forward. Sometimes it's with his foot, sometimes it's with both hands, but he's been a driving force, and honestly, his knowledge of the fire departments and his knowledge of the school corporation has kind of been that bridge for all of us to work together. So I was remiss in not thanking Mr. Alexander for kind of pushing this forward too. Thanks.
And now he has to wash my car since I said his name.
I'll give you the 20 later.
But no, and in all seriousness, just, keep up the good work, guys. We love the collaboration and, working together makes a better community for everybody.
Well, along with that is, I work with ISBA, and so talk to school boards across the state. And the successful ones, or ones that are having success, is when they partner up with community entities. And we've been a little slow to do that here at Center Grove, but now it's happening, and it's happening in a wonderful way. This is being a very successful partnership. Will open the door for others.
All right, at this time, Dr. Gabriel will present
Wait a
some.
minute, I think we have
You have one more comment?
Thanks. Oh,
Go
Hey,
ahead, Scott.
Chief Funkhauser, Chief Pell, would you please also pass our thanks along to your boards and your board presidents as well, because they've been instrumental in this as well, and I know, they have to be supportive as well as we proceed forward in this venture, because we're about to blur some lines and do those types of things. But I think for the community and as a whole, this is a great step forward, and I think this is a roadmap that other school corporations and other communities similar to our makeup can use. I mean, as you guys know, we're a little unique. We don't have a town. We don't have some of those infrastructures in place. We're protected by 2 different fire departments across our buildings, and your guys' partnership in that is key, and we can't say thank you guys enough. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Gabriel?
Okay.
All right, Dr. Gabriel, tell us how we're gonna pay for it.
Dr. Long gets the flashy stuff, and I get to explain 5 pages of fine print.
Do you want the chiefs to stand up with you anyway?
Yeah. That's all right. But you do have a resolution in front of you. This kicks off the process of selling a bond for $5.1 million to pay for this project. Jeff Quackenbush, who I think most of you have met before, is with us this evening. He's our bond counsel and drew up this resolution. And I'm just going to highlight a few of the phrases in this 5 pages that basically explain what the purpose of this resolution is. So first of all, on page 2, section 1, it says the board is establishing that a need exists for this emergency operations project, and that's pretty much what you just heard. Then on section 4, on page 3, we're proving that the emergency operations project is in the public interests and is a proper public purchase. And then in section 5, we are authorizing to sell and deliver first mortgage bonds of the original principal amount not to exceed $5,170,000. And also, if you can go up just a little bit, at section 8, the very first phrase, it says that we are approving the terms and conditions of the proposed form of the lease. So we're not approving anything except the form that has been prepared for us to fill in as we proceed with this financing. And then the last thing that the board does in section 9 is that the board authorizes the holding of a public hearing. So the next step in this process will be what we call the 1028 hearing. It needs to follow this meeting by 30 days, so it will take place in July, at the regular board meeting in July, because the June board meeting is not 30 days away. So that will be the next step in this process, and hopefully shortly after that hearing, we can proceed with the selling of the bonds and we'll have the money available to start on this project. So that's the resolution that we are asking the board to approve this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Gabriel. Do I hear a motion to approve the adoption of the lease?
Madam President, I move that we adopt a resolution approving the form of the Fifth Amendment to the lease with the Center Grove Multi-Facility School Building Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. The motion has been made and second to approve this resolution. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Those opposed, motion carried. 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Supporting agreements.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We now move to approving sports apparel agreement. And, okay, Dr. Arkanoff is going to approve that, or put that together for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Toomey. This evening, I'll get to my list, here we go. This evening, I'm recommending that the board approve a sports apparel agreement, and Dr. Gabriel is going to provide you with some additional information.
Yes, thank you. And I'd just like to say that this evening we have A.J. Zapp, who is our sales representative that supports our schools. If you don't know him, he's a Center Grove grad. And so he's available also as a representative from the vendor. We've been talking about this for probably about 6 months. And this evening, I'm just going to give you a brief summary of the process that we went through and where we believe we have landed. You can see the schedule here. Started in February, and when we sent a email message to all of our coaches and asked them to share it with their parent groups. That explained the process of what we were going through. Shortly after that, we published an RFP. And after the responses were received from the RFP, vendors made presentations. We did a survey. After that, we did a survey of the coaches and others present at that meeting. And then we had a number of meetings with the vendor that we chose as our preferred final vendor. Went through the development of a final proposal, and then had, again, more meetings to negotiate the exact final terms of the contract. Then went back to the smaller committee that we started with to explain the final terms, where although I was not able to make that meeting, I'm told it was very well received. Just to show you what the original responses were, we had 3 vendors make original proposals. Team Pride made a proposal that totaled $176,500. That's the retail value of all of the incentives that they included in their proposal. Team Sports was the second vendor. They proposed $190,000 in the retail value of the incentives, and BSN Sports' proposal was $193,600. We took a survey. There was a very unified, not quite unanimous support. Again, these were after, this was taken, the survey was taken of all the people that attended the initial presentations. 94% ranked BSN as their first choice. The other 6% ranked BSN as their second choice, and no one ranked them as their third choice. So we had a very strong support for BSN. This is a little bit more detailed presentation of the financial proposal that they made. They have an annual allowance of $40,000 retail value, and I just used that line to say that they were the only vendor that really was willing to say to us, we understand that that $40,000 is our catalog price, but we always give you a discount. So $40,000 retail is really value to you of $24,000. So that's an annual amount. They'll provide a free pair of Nike shoes, 30 free pairs for our athletic staff. They offer one set of uniforms of buy one, get one free each year. You can see the average annual value to that. And they also offer one uniform top each year for free, the value of that. Then we would be receiving a royalty on anything from the Sideline store. That's an online store that would be available. We would also get a rebate, BSN Sports product, on certain of the products that they would provide for us each year, which is $10,000 retail value. My Team store is another online ordering process, and we would get cash back from that, $5,000, and then every year 150 polo shirts to provide for staff. You see the value of that. Marketing branding package, which is something that would provide for us a variety of signs or other sorts of products that the athletic department might want to put around our facilities. And BSN Sports is, I think you would describe them as a subsidiary of Varsity Brands, and Varsity Brands has agreed to provide at no cost to us an electric golf cart, which would be, what's the word I'm looking for? It would be branded with Center Grove, the Trojan logo, and on all sorts of things like that. And in addition, Varsity Brands has some other incentive that we talked about, having really decided on what that would be, of about $6,000. So the result of that is actual benefit to us of $30,500 in the first year and $54,520 in each of the 4 years of the contract. So the total benefit, actual benefit that we would receive is $247,500. To go back and compare that to the original proposals that were given in terms of retail value, the retail value of these products and these incentives is $328,600. And the reason that that's that much greater is, I would say, partly because we negotiated quite a bit with BSN Brands, and partly because we simply went through their proposal in much more detail and provided attached a value to everything in their proposal. So generally, as we look at just the incentives which coaches receive, currently the current retail value of what all the coaches are getting with the individual things that they're working out with vendors is about $17,000 a year. And as we said here, the retail value of the equivalent there is $40,000 in the first year. It would be more than that in subsequent years because of the other rebates that we would get on the various products that we receive. And in this case, every single sport that gets a part of the $17,000 would get more under this contract than they currently get. In terms of the impact on the community and on parents, that's really very little. This is an exclusive contract for Nike products provided by BSN, and the control here is based upon what the school district will buy. So it's controlled when we order something as a school district. This contract has no impact on any other organizations, such as booster clubs. And the contract does not control what parents might choose to buy for their kids. So when we have sports and other clubs and activities where parents are buying things, they're free to buy whatever they like. We don't have any kind of legal control over what parents would buy. So this is a 4-year contract. We do have a provision written into the contract that we can get out with written notice at the end of any of the 4 years, any year we can choose to get out. So this evening, we're recommending that the board enter into a 4-year contract with BSN Sports, which provides a total value of $247,500 to the Center Grove schools.
Thank you, Dr. Gabriel. I'd like to have a motion for the approval of the 4-year exclusive agreement with BSN Sports. Do I hear a vote for approval?
I move that we vote to approve the BSN Sports contract.
All right, second?
Second.
Could you have any conversation, any comments before we vote?
Just briefly,
Mr. Daniels?
I know, Paul, you did a really good job of telling us all the background that goes into this before a decision is made, and I think this is the first time I've ever seen anything where you've had 94% of people agree on anything.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, any department for that
Yeah,
matter. So I
would
think that's
agree. That'd be
commendable
unusual.
that, you know, to get that. It makes me wonder if it's a third world country election, but, you know, good work on this, putting it together, and let's hope this is a good arrangement for both going forward.
Sure.
So I guess one of the unanimous things I heard the night that the coaches met, there was some concerns around, several of them expressed concerns around delivery and making sure they have products on time. Have we had those conversations with Mr. Zapp and